The final score, Sheffield United 4, Wrexham 2. We're out the Carabao Cup. It's not the worst disaster of all time, to be honest, but it was a game in which we showed good spirit. There were some good signs. We got a lot of minutes into a lot of players' legs, and so it's never nice to lose a game, especially not when you let 4 goals in. But the truth is, there were positives to come out of this. Massively rotated team. Only one player from Saturday remained, James McLean, tucked into midfield this time. I think I might see a lot more of him in that position this season. Apart from that, everyone was altered. Callum Burton making his debut in goal, Lewis Brunt and Dan Scarr also making their debuts, as did Ollie Rathbone. In an interesting position, certainly not what anybody expected, just off Sam Dalby up front, which was interesting. I'll talk about that a bit later on, but certainly I will say that I think it was partly an attempt just to slightly alter our shape to counter the fact that Sheffield United were always going to build from deep. Not sure it quite worked out, and it was, I think, an important factor in the fact that we lost the game. Although, let's not kid ourselves. Sheffield United rotated their team completely, 11 changes from their win on Friday, but they had a lot of quality. They had a lot of players who played in the Premier League last season. They also had some terrific young players, and yeah, they did look a cut above us. Their rotated team, still, I'd say, a division above our rotated team. But we did have moments, and we did have some good play, and we could have gone ahead in the first minute as well. A fantastic fingertip save by Gerbic, low to his left, after a set piece had been cleared, come back in, and Will Boyle, as he does, struck a shot from 15 yards like a striker across the keeper. It really was a tremendous save. It was a perfectly paced, struck shot, and Gerbic did ever so well to repel it. And in the opening stages, Wrexham were getting at Sheffield United. We were looking very lively. Throughout the first half, the pace of Bolton and Reven on the flanks was causing problems. But around the 10-minute mark, Sheffield United started to settle in. Their young midfielders were really shifting the ball around very, very quickly, and that was opening us up sometimes. We showed good discipline in that mid-block that we excel at, but they were able to open us up, and especially the switch from left to right once they'd drawn us across was really easy. Marsh was pinning Will Boyle, and that meant that he couldn't step forward to try and intervene, and there was lots of space to switch the ball into. Sariki, the right wing back, caused problems with some good runs before he went down and had to go off with an injury, but then they put Alfie Gilchrist on, Chelsea's Academy Player of the Year last season, and so there wasn't much loss of quality. So they had a lot of threat down that right-hand side. But mostly they had threat from set pieces. Now, to look on the non-negative side, Peck was tremendous in midfield, and he had excellent delivery from set pieces. And of course, they've got Harry Souttar, the biggest man on earth. Well, maybe not quite, but he is a massive unit. And, dull fact I found out yesterday, the tallest outfield player ever to play for Australia. So that's the non-negative side. The negative side is we played 2 games this season, and we've looked very vulnerable from set pieces. For some reason, we seem to be very easy to block off, and that's something that we really need to be looking at. So that first opportunity was Peck driving a corner into the near post area. It was met about 10 yards out by Ryan Brewster, who had a free volley. He made a beautiful contact with it, but he put it over, and from that range, get it on target. So I think he would have been really disappointed to have missed it, even though it was a heck of a contact on the volley. They continued to put pressure on us, although the next opportunity was self-inflicted. Luke Bolton had done well to retrieve the ball, but then gave it straight to Peck on the edge of the area. He ran into a crowd and tried to bend it from the edge of the D. It was a good effort, but it wouldn't come down in time as he aimed for the top right corner. Then another free kick swept in, and, well, initially it was Souttar, who managed to get on the end of it, the ball to his feet, hit a shot, it was well blocked, fell to Ben Slimani, a good chance, he drove his in, but it was a really crucial deflection for Wrexham, which sent it off target for a corner. More danger coming when Ben Slimani was cut inside, lovely piece of skill in a crowded area after a corner. managed to flick Brewster one-on-one with the keeper 10 yards out. He hit it first time, again with power. Good save by Burton, who stood up to it well and was able to parry it clear. But these chances were coming more and more, and it seemed the goal was inevitable. But we scored it. Against tone of play, it's reasonable to say, although there was a warning 2 minutes beforehand. Wrexham managed to work a 3-on-2 break, Rathbone driving through the middle. He fed it to Dalby, who should have had a clear sight on goal from the left channel, but the pass was a bit under-hit. Dalby had to wait for it, and the opportunity was gone. But within a minute, Wrexham did have the lead. Classic Wrexham corner. We'd done it so often the last few years. McLean swooping it beyond the far post. Scar got up really well, headed it into the goal mouth, and there was Will Boyle, very close range, but it was a nicely contacted volley on the turn to put the ball past the keeper, and Wrexham were ahead. United looked to respond. Marsh, who was lively on the right, he drove in a nasty cross, and Scar, with no real control of it at full stretch, just had to make a contact and put it just over his own bar. Then that corner was cleared for another corner, and from that one came the equaliser. I mean, we're unlucky. It's not controversial, but Peck swings it into the far post. Disappointingly, Boyle loses Trusty because there's a player manages to block him off a bit easily, and Trusty comes across and meets it with a powerful header across the face of goal. James Jones on the post volleys it clear, but the goal decision technology, first time it's ever been used in a Wrexham game, damn it, says that it's just over the line. I've looked at the replays over and over and over again. I trust the goal line technology. Elements of VAR I don't trust, or I think are vulnerable to mistakes. I don't think that's the case with the goal line technology. I think that's sound. I've looked at it again and again and again. It doesn't quite look over the line, but I have actually seen now one angle where I think, yeah, maybe I can just see a sliver of daylight. I don't doubt that it's correct. James Jones was furious and went running over to the referee. He just pointed at his watch, and Jones realised, oh, okay, I can't complain to you about this. I mean, the irony, of course, is, like I said, it's the first time it's been used against us, in a game with us. The ref and linesman were going to give the goal. We're going to say it wasn't the goal because it was so close. So we were unlucky in that regards, but you can't argue about it, can you? Let's be fair. I will make a little argument later on, but not now. Not over this one. This is not the hill that I want to die on. United then pushing hard, trying to get themselves ahead. And again, Wrexham, like last Saturday, having to dig deep to survive to half-time. Peck standing up a free kick. Suter nodding it down. Slimani with a decent chance, but he completely mishit it. Wrexham went up the other end of the pitch with a threatening breakaway, and ultimately Rathbone had a chance. He mishit it, but through a crowd, and with a deflection on the way, Gerbich did well to get down low and hold on to it. In added time, we nearly took the lead again with what would have been a fabulous goal, which just showcased the pace of Reven. Burton with a massive clearance. He only just got there ahead of a defender, but he did look to have a good distribution with his feet. But he launched it massively. Gerbich, the keeper's already come out the box. It looks like it's just going to bounce through to him, and he's standing outside the box waiting for it to come through so he can smash it back where it came from. Reven is a good 5-6 yards behind Gilchrist, but he just roars past him. Gerbich has to retreat. Gilchrist recovers really well as Reven's bringing it down and manages to get his body between man and ball, but somehow Reven manages still to stretch his leg around Gilchrist and hook it past the stranded Gerbich. It looked like a goal for all the world, and it just scraped the outside of the far post and went wide. That would have made a very interesting second half. As it was, Sheffield United came out strongly, got on control. They had an opportunity when a ball was stood up after a corner which looked to have been wasted, but when the ball was stood up to the far post, Suter nodded it down. Bolton did well to get a foot in, but it dropped kindly for Suter, who smashed it towards goal and put it just wide. They didn't have much longer to wait before they were ahead. It was Hampson with a lovely pass to send Brewster down the right channel. He looked offside, but he wasn't. Brunt on the far side of the pitch, it was deeper than the other centre-backs. Scar had just stepped off to try and play the offside, and Brewster was legitimately through on goal. He drove it across goal, and it was Lewis Brunt, unfortunately for him, who couldn't really do much else under the bar, deflected it into his own goal, and Sheffield United were 2-1 up. Wrexham almost immediately made a triple change. So off came McLean, Dalby and Rathbone. On came Lee, Fletcher and Marriott. But soon after that, we found ourselves in more trouble. A penalty given, correct decision. I mean, one of the other big factors for the quality of Sheffield United. I mean, Brewster and Ben Slimani are class players, and they just had that little bit extra. And some of their nice little footwork was just a bit too much for our defenders on this occasion. Ben Slimani turned neatly. Bolton left his foot out, I would say, more than tripped him. But Ben Slimani knew it was there. He wasn't daft. He hit it and went over. Not arguing it's a penalty. It's cute play by Ben Slimani, but it's a penalty because Bolton stuck his leg out. From the spot, Brewster steps up, and Burton again distinguishes himself. Good save to his left. Unluckily for him, Marsh follows through, and it's a nice little finish, even though the keeper's on the floor, just to sort of shape it with the outside of his foot beyond the goalie. This is my bit of a gripe, and please remember the context. 4-2 is a fair result. I'm not arguing about that. But just those little turning points where games could go a different way. Marsh is in the box when a penalty's taken. And the irony to me, I don't blame referees and linesmen for not spotting that. It's a split-second decision. But the irony for me is you got the technology on the goal line, which works in Sheffield United's favour and correctly. But then you haven't got the VAR technology to show that he was in the box, because VAR surely would have disallowed the goal. So, yeah, a little bit ironic, a bit unfortunate. A minute straight away after that, we made a change which made a massive difference to the complexion of the game. George Dobson comes on for George Evans, and for about 5 minutes or so, as Dobson settles in, the pattern still is that United are in control and looking for more. A brilliant ball by Peck puts Hampson one-on-one, but he hits it a long, long way wide as he tries to put it across the goal. With about a quarter of an hour left, though, the fight back begins, because now we've got two strikers up front, and Marius and Fletcher are causing some discomfort. When Dobson comes on, we suddenly have a player who's controlling the middle of the pitch, and we're starting to get decent balls forwards, and Lee is starting to come into the game as well. And, well, we were unfortunate. Ball played in, and Boyle jumping after heading it onto the roof of the net after Dobson done brilliantly to keep the ball alive. It was a Wrexham corner, went out to the left flank, and he looked like he wasn't even going to keep it in, but someone managed to do so and then flick it over the defender's head and deliver the ball into Boyle's head. Ryan Barnett then comes on with 10 minutes left, and we really start to throw the kitchen sink at Sheffield United. We have another opportunity, a lovely chip over the top by Barnett. Luckily for Sheffield United, Griffiths was advanced in the starting position and was quick. He just beat Jack Marriott to it. If Marriott had just got the touch, then he would have been running it into an empty net. So a let-off for United. Of course, Wrexham were taking chances now and leaving gaps at the other end. And substitute One fed a good ball into fellow substitute Brooks, who one-on-one drove in a powerful shot. Good save again by Burton. Again, stood up strong. Then nearly a fluky goal for Wrexham. The ball played in by Suter, who was under pressure from Fletcher. In fact, the ball that came into Fletcher, it was a beauty. If he'd been able to control it, which was extremely difficult, then he would have been in on goal. But he couldn't quite. But he kept hassling Suter. Suter fed the back pass into Griffiths, who just took a bit of a loose touch and didn't realise that Marriott was herring in on the blind side. As he turned, it looks like he just suddenly saw him in the corner of his eye and just desperately kicked it away. Marriott lunged in and just didn't quite get there first, and the danger had passed. With 5 minutes left and Wrexham actually in the game again, it was sealed though. Again, Wrexham not dealing well with the set piece. Corner comes into the far post. Suter heads it from a tight angle towards goal. Another good save by Burton, changing direction and getting his left hand to it. But all he can do is tee it up for Ben Slimani to knock it in. Burton, I think, can feel a bit frustrated, not only because he played well in terms of shot stopping, but also because two of the goals come from rebounds off him, which defenders haven't got to first. So he will have been frustrated by that. Wrexham, though, continue to battle. Within a minute of that, we should have pulled it back to 4-2. Barnett with a great cross in. Reeven with a wonderful run from deep between the centre-backs. easy opportunity on the edge of the 6-yard box, but he volleyed it into the ground, and Gerbic was able to make a very good save. It's always tricky when the ball goes down then up, and tip it over the bar. Great work by the keeper. And Wrexham kept toiling and kept toiling. 3 minutes into the 4 minutes of added time, the ball into the box again. Koulibaly mishitting it up in the air. Fletcher scrabbling away, manages to get an overhead kick as the ball comes down from about 8 yards out, but puts it wide of the right post. A good effort. And in the 4th minute of added time, we do get that second goal, which I think made the scoreline look a bit fairer. Brilliant play by Elliot Lee, driving through the middle, off balance, lots of pressure on him, but he slides a pass with perfect weight to Reven, who drills it through the keeper's legs to get his first Wrexham goal. Pretty much the last action of the game, apart from the punch-up in the goal afterwards, which was so insane. Both Marriott and Peck got yellow cards for it. We'd gone beyond the 4 added minutes, and we were still 2 goals down. Marriott went to fetch the ball. Oh, I don't see any issue in that, but Peck was determined not to let him, and starts almost like he's pulling his shirt over Marriott's head. And the referee had no real option but to take action, booked the 2 of them. So, we're at the Carabao Cup. It's not a disaster, and we've had a look at some of our newer players and given them a chance to start establishing those relationships with their teammates. Looking through the performances, well, Burton had a cracking game, really did well. Can't blame him for the goals. Made some good saves, really, really good debut for him. I'm going to have a look at just how many Wrexham keepers in recent years have made saves from penalties on their debuts, because there's Burton, there's Coddington, Dibble, Laneton. So there's 4 at least. I need to have a look at this. This is a weird pattern that's developing. Anyway, looking at the back 3, I mean, they were all stretched and all had troublesome periods in the game. To be fair, they were up against high-quality strikers, you know, including 2 who played a lot in the Premier League last season and commanded 7-8 figure fees. Boyle had some good moments, a lot of good moments in Sheffield United's penalty area. I think it troubled him a bit that Marsh was pinning him like he was. But again, in defending the box, aerial stuff he did well with. Scar, again, difficult, especially picking up Suter from set pieces. But you can see that he's a strong defender with good positioning. The number of times he got into the central position in the 6-yard box and got the ball clear from a dangerous cross was pleasing. Brunt, he's got a great range of passing. Brunt, I was very impressed with that. And he made some good challenges and interceptions. Sometimes I felt that he was a little bit drifting ahead of his man. You know, Sheffield United pushing 3 men up the pitch caused him a little bit of an issue, I think, sometimes. And although he made a couple of good interceptions in front of his men, including when he set up that chance knocking it long for Fletcher, he may need to be a little bit careful when games are a little more settled, that he doesn't make an error of positioning like that. On the wings, Bolton, I thought, did really well going forwards. Again, his pace was good and he put a couple of good deliveries into the box. He had a couple of unfortunate moments defensively, mind. Although I think, again, to be fair, it was the volume of defensive actions he had to make which caused a problem for him. Gave away the penalty, maybe probably shouldn't have. So did all right, did okay. Reven was very pleasing. I didn't really think there was much in terms of his defensive work that was an issue. And going forwards, wow, that pace, what a weapon. It's scary. So I was very, very pleased with Reven, who will be, maybe out of all of them, the one who's really knocking on the door for a start on Sunday. In the centre midfield, George Evans got his start in the middle of the pitch. Wasn't able to quite influence the game as much as you normally see with him, in all honesty. Did a lot of his work dropping off just in front of the centre-backs, trying to protect them. Wasn't able to really get the ball forwards all that much. McLean as well. It was an interesting sort of formation at times. It was like a box in midfield, and he was alongside Evans, but McLean made a couple of typical strong tackles, got his yellow card, but wasn't really able to drive forwards in the way that he'd like to. The third midfielder was James Jones, and he was the one who stayed on for the 90, and probably the pick of those 3, in that he had a lot of energy as always, kept going to the end, was trying to feed in balls behind the defence, had a decent game. And then we get to this unusual little formation switch with Rathbone, who's not one of life's great goal scorers, playing off the striker. Now, I think a lot of the thinking with that was, like I said, disrupt Sheffield United, maybe try and push them in one direction with our pressing. And then Rathbone can drive forwards effectively, as he showed in that 3-on-2 break, or he got the pass wrong. I don't think this is a game to make many conclusions from him, because he's only just arrived with us. He needs time to settle in. And also, frankly, because I don't think we'll see him in that position very much, if ever, again. But he was extremely energetic. The ball wasn't always sticking for him, but then he was in a different position to where you don't expect him to be. So reserve judgment on him, but he showed a lot of energy and commitment in the hour that he got. And then up front, I felt very sympathetic for Dalby, because he has always put in a good shift. He won some good headers against Trusty in the air. He held the ball up well on occasion. But he didn't get all that much to work with. Like I said, should have been played in by Rathbone to have a clear sight of goal, and that would have been interesting. But that was really the only time he got any really good service in a threatening area. So I had a lot of sympathy for him. The subs did well for Wrexham. Like I said, Dobson's class. Oh, he's just such a good player. And Barnes as well showed that he could come on the pitch, make an impact. He put a few good crosses in. His end product in these first 2 games has been really impressive, which is exciting, isn't it? He's always a good end product, but he's really seems to be nailing it at the moment. Up front, Marriott was excellent, chasing around everything. Fletcher was causing problems. And Elliot Lee, of course, got an assist. So the subs did really well. I think this is a game which, all right, we lost, and we lost 4-2, and that's disappointing. But we've put ourselves in a better position for Sunday's game than maybe we were after last Saturday's game, because now we've got a few more players who are up to speed or closer to being up to speed, 90 minutes in their legs. And the squad, I think, looks a bit more ready, perhaps. And remember, there's no shame in losing to a Sheffield United side who have still got a good squad. I mean, look at the way that, okay, they're completely rotated first team, walloped Preston on Friday. Some people have said that they're going to have problems. They're not going to have problems, I don't think, in the Championship. Chris Wilder's an astute manager, and he's got some great young players and a bit of squad depth as well. So, yeah, that's okay. 4-2 loss against a high division team. And we were competitive and made chances and shook them a bit at the start and the end. I'll take that. It's okay. The league's the important thing anyway. Oh, that and winning the FA Cup. But more of that in a few months. With a final score of Sheffield United 4, Wrexham 2, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.